Good morning. My name is Quraysh Ali Lansana. I'm a poet and author of 20 books, a professor at OSU Tulsa, and a teaching artist at Ahha Tulsa. And normally I might visit your classroom to work with poetry or hip hop, creative writing, or African American history. But today's lesson, of course, is online here on RSU TV, as well as online, I should say, due to our staying healthy and at home. So today, I thank you for welcoming me into your living rooms, your kitchens, wherever you may be. And today we are going to play with wearing another skin. Um, Fun with persona poetry. Persona poetry. Think about changing the order of the syllables in that word. Persona, a person. So, writing in the voice of someone else, someone not you. This could be an historical figure. Like I spent an entire book of poetry studying Harriet Tubman's journeys and the folks who traveled with her in the Underground Railroad, and wrote an entire book of poems in her voice, in the voice of folks who traveled with her. Um, you could write in the voice of a current sports figure or celebrity. It could be a musician or a politician, even an inanimate objects. And one of my like an animal. One of my favorite persona poems of all time is written in the voice of the basketball that Michael Jordan had in his hand in Game Six of the NBA Finals in 1998 when the Bulls won their sixth championship. I was living in Chicago at the time, and of course was very much a Bulls fan. And so I imagined, right, this writer, not myself, imagined with 46 seconds left on the clock, um, in that ball, when Jordan made that bucket with under about 24 seconds left on the shot clock, if that ball could speak, if that ball had human qualities, if that ball could think and feel, if that ball had the ability to smell, to taste, to tactile experience, all of the sensory aspects, what might this ball say in that moment? Right. So it's fun to imagine, to think about playing with those kinds of situations. And persona poetry only works, or I wouldn't say only, works the best in specific situations. So it can't just be the basketball anywhere. It's going to be the basketball or the person or the character in whose voice you choose to write in a very particular situation. Persona poetry can be also written in the voice of existing characters. So characters from books, characters from movies, or even superheroes, right? As in this excerpt from a poem by Greg Santos. So, Greg Santos wrote a persona poem that's published in this anthology of Face to Meet the Faces, an anthology of contemporary persona poetry. And he imagined what the Incredible Hulk might think or say in a particular situation outside of saving the world. So this is called Hulk Smash, and I'll read an excerpt. Hulk, no. Hulk have a problem. Hulk took break from Avengers after orphanage and tanker truck incident. Hulk's therapist said it cry for help. Hulk said, Hulk strong, Hulk self-reliant. Ugh. Who Hulk kidding? Hulk not really so incredible. Hulk look in mirror every day and want to smash things. Hulk never cut out to be superhero. Hulk really just regular Joe. Hulk got hungry hippos for birthday, but no one want to play with Hulk. Everyone too busy saving world. Hulk like watching Tennessee Titans with bowl of chips and dip. Hulk like to go beachcombing for giant squid carcasses. Hulk okay guy, just misunderstood. Hulk really just want to have normal 9 to 5 job. But who would hire Hulk? Hulk first tried 7-Eleven cashier job in Schurz, Texas. Hulk wore stupid uniform even though it too small. Hulk still want to smash Slurpee machine. Hulk think it give too much ice, not enough syrup. Right? So that's a fun poem that Greg Santos wrote, imagining what the Incredible Hulk might say in a particular situation, a very specific situation or setting. In this case, in the case of this poem, it's Hulk no longer being a superhero, no longer working with the Avengers, but Hulk trying to be a regular Joe, right? Which is kind of funny. And so you can have fun with persona poems, to be sure. But what's important again is that in whichever character or entity's voice you write, that character, that who, which we'll get into in a moment, must be in a very particular situation or setting, right? Can't just be the Hulk out hanging out. It's got to be the Hulk in this case, in this very specific situation of him retiring from the Avengers and trying to be a regular Joe and fit into society. Can you imagine the Incredible Hulk working at the Quick Trip or the 7-Eleven in a uniform, right? So you can have fun with this imagining, right? And the poem, the writing of the persona work itself is the imagining of what that character might say, think, or feel in a particular situation. So I want to mention that for the educators watching, that I do have lesson plans and on persona and other types of writing. In this book, I co-wrote for teachers, Our Difficult Sunlight, a guide to poetry, literacy, and social justice in the classroom and community, published in 2012 by Teachers and Writers Collaborative. So let's get into this idea of writing a persona poem. And I hope that you'll do this. And it's a lot of fun, again, to imagine what someone else or something else in a particular situation might think or feel or say, or again, giving voice to an inanimate object, a ball, and a dog or cat or animal, a tree in a particular place or situation. So let's jump in. The first thing you want to do, I was trained as a journalist. I worked professionally as a journalist as well as a poet and writer. And so I was taught in Enid High School so many years ago, and also at the University of Oklahoma, that the foundations of writing journalism, and I think in this case it applies to writing this persona poem, are the old-fashioned 5 W's and an H: the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So let's start our breakdown of writing this persona poem with the who. So, of course, and you can actually literally write these down, which is what I do. And when I teach this, I have students write down on their piece of paper who, skip a line, what, skip a line, when, skip a line, where, skip a line, why, skip a line, and how, right? And so the who, of course, is in whose voice or in what voice you're going to write. So in the example that I read, Greg Santos decided to write in the voice of the Incredible Hulk. So the Incredible Hulk is his who, right? So you would write a Hulk or whoever your character entity is next to who, okay? And then, so now you have your who, and then we can move on to what. And what is the situation in which your who, in this case the Hulk, finds itself, right? What is happening, right? And so it's important again to note here that you don't want to write in the voice of a character, in your character's voice in a situation in which you already know, right? Which already exists in a book or a movie. You want to create a new situation, even if your character has been around for years, like the Hulk. You want to create a new situation for your character, and that is your what. So, if the who in this case is the Incredible Hulk, the what is the situation? What is going on with the Hulk? And in this case, in Greg's poem, the what is that who has retired from the Avengers because he just wants to be a regular Joe. The Hulk wants to try and change his life to a normal life. That's the what. As funny as it is, that's the situation, right? So then we can move on to, well, actually, before we move on to the when, we have to stop for a moment and think about, okay, so if the what is, in this case, the Hulk wanting to quit the Avengers and be a regular Joe, then are there any other people or any other who's that need to go on that who list? Are there any other entities that need to go on that who list? So we could write next to Hulk on the who line the Avengers, because that's referenced in the poem. Later in the poem, the Hulk references a young woman whom he met at an office job that he kind of had a crush on. So she could be on our who list as well. So I want you to think about, are there any other people or entities or things that are important to your who? And you list them also up there on the same line as your who, right? So we have our who, we have our what, and now we go to when. Now, when did this situation occur? Did it occur? You want to be as detailed and specific as possible. So, when could be the year? Was it 2016? Was it 1916? Was it in the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall? I mean, we're in May here in Oklahoma, and outside it feels like a fall or spring cold day, right? So be that specific. What is when did this take place in terms of this? Didn't even become as detailed as the time of day. Was it in the morning? Did it happen in the evening? Did it happen in the afternoon or at night? Try and be as specific as possible, because that will help you with the writing. Okay, so that's our when. Then we skip the line and move to the where. And the where is, of course, the setting. Where did your situation occur? With the Hulk references that he tried to get a job in Schurz, Texas. That's pretty specific, right? So you want to think about, did where does your situation occur? Where does the who become involved in this situation? Is it in Schurz, Texas? Is it in Los Angeles, California? If you wrote in the voice of a football player, maybe it's at Owen Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman, right? And I went to OU, so I'm gonna always give OU love, even though I teach at OSU, right? So where does your situation occur? And you want to be detailed as possible. So city, state, location. Did it happen in a house? Did it happen on a football field? Did it happen on a basketball court? Did it happen on an ice rink? Did it happen in a gymnastics meet? Where does your situation occur? Then we get to the why. And the why is, why does your situation occur? Why does this character, whose voice you've chosen to write, find itself, himself, herself, themselves, itself in that situation? Why does the situation occur? In Greg Santos's poem, Hulk Smash, why the situation occurs is because, and early in the poem, you heard that the Hulk retired after orphanage and tanker truck incident. So something blew up. Something bad happened. Hulk was upset, and he took a break from the Avengers. That's why he took the break. That's why the situation occurred in Greg's poem about the Incredible Hulk. And that's why Hulk decided it was time to try and be a regular Joe, because this situation occurred and he needed to take a break. So what is the why in the poem or the writing you're going to write, in the voice, in this persona voice of the character you've selected, right? And so you remember, you're writing all these things down, the responses to these prompts, literally next to the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. And then we're going to get to the how. Now, the how, there are two possibilities for the how, to address the how. So listen carefully, because it depends on your character, and your situation. So the how can be an ending, or the how can be a resolution. So an ending, let's say, an ending is Iron Man flies up through the portal, grabs the meteor that was about to smash the Earth and destroy half of California, and he flies the meteor back up into the portal. It blows up. He gets safely out of the portal. The world is safe. He flies down to his magical lair on a mountain and eats a cheeseburger. And then the movie ends. The world is safe. The end. That's an ending. A resolution. Um, Actually, that's a resolution. I'm sorry, I have them confused. That's a resolution. A resolution, let me say this again. So, a resolution is everything is good, everything is safe, everything's been resolved. So, I apologize for that error. I need more coffee. But a resolution is that Iron Man saves the world, comes down, the world is safe, has a cheeseburger, the end, and everything is resolved. So stay with me. I apologize for that error. An ending is that Iron Man is plummeting towards the Earth at light speed. If he hits the Earth at light speed, half of California will fall into the ocean. Um, as he is plummeting at light speed towards Earth and the Earth's atmosphere starts to come into view, um, the screen fades to black. And so what we know is that that's an ending. The movie is over, the story is over, but nothing has been resolved, right? It's open ended. Nothing has been resolved. Some writers refer to that, or script writers as well, refer to that as a cliffhanger. Nothing has been resolved, but the situation has. Hey, I'm sorry about that. We had some technical difficulties, and so I was still talking, and I guess we lost connection. So could not tell that on my end, but you could on yours. So apologies for that. So I was saying that regarding the ending or the resolution um, in in the Hulk Smash poem, um, because I did not read it in its entirety, but the poem ends with. Um, let's see. Hulk then tried work an office job. Hulk carpool with Joan and Frank from accounting. Hulk wears snappy tie and dress shirt. Hulk even bought new purple pants. Cubicles too small for Hulk though. Hulk hate paperwork. Hulk smash paper shredder. Hulk got yelled at by Shelly in cubicle next door. Hulk hates Shelly. Hulk think about Shelly every day, right? So in that situation, right, there is not a resolution. It just ends, right? Hulk as tries an office job. He tries to fit in, buy right snazzy clothes, but he has trouble fitting in the cubicle, and he really has a crush on Shelley, but he doesn't know what to do about it, right? So that's how that poem ends, right? That's not a resolution. The resolution would be maybe that Hulk went back to the Avengers, right? Okay, so again, decide whether your character in your situation, your what, has that there's either an ending to the situation or resolution to the situation. Very important to distinguish. Write that down next to the how. Okay, then you want to think about adding emotional, the emotional range, right? So, what are the emotions of your who from the beginning of the situation to the close? Because they may change. And I like to ask students to just simply write a list. Don't worry about sentences, don't worry about lines, just write a list. So, at the beginning of the Hulk Smash poem, Hulk is upset, right? He wants to give up um, being a superhero, right? He sees a therapist, so he's confused. He wants help. Um, and from the beginning, so my emotional range for the Hulk in this poem starts with upset, confused, then he's determined to try and change his life, do something differently, and on and on and on. That emotional list till we get to the end of the poem, which is really love. He loves Shelley. right? So that's the list. So just think about writing a list of that emotional range for your who, and you have to do that for if you have more than one who, you have to write that list of emotions for each who are a part of the world of your poem. Also, think about and make a list of the sensory language in your poem. So, what are your five senses, right? Sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, or hearing, right? So, what senses are a part of the situation in which your character finds itself, right? So, with the Hulk, the senses at the beginning of the poem are the flames, the smell of burning, their sounds or screams from the orphanage and tanker trunk incident, and then from there he's more into colognes and soap and office smells. He's trying to change those things, and he goes from emotionally again. You've got your emotional range there, but what are the senses too? So from there to quiet, from loud and banging, being a superhero, to quiet in an office, to the crazy little elevator music that's played uh, in grocery stores or 7-Elevens, right? So think about what are the senses that are a part of your situation. And finally, you want to think about using as few personal pronouns as possible, right? So think about um, in Greg Santos' poem, he uses Hulk, 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 Hulk speaking about himself in third person. But also thinking about in your poem, I mean, there's not really an I or a me, too many me's in this poem. So what I want you to think about again when you are working in persona, that you are not right. You are writing as if you are in that character's head, and you are writing that character's thoughts and feelings in that moment, right? That imagining of what they might think or feel or say in the moment is the poem. That's the work of the poem. So, as a quick review, right? Persona poetry, right? Writing in the voice of another that could be just make sure that you don't write in the voice of someone you know, because that's like cheating, right? But write in the voice of it could be a building, again, it could be a historical figure. As I mentioned, I wrote in Harriet Tubman's voice. It could be anyone's voice, someone you admire or someone you don't admire, right? And then go down that who, what, when, where, why, and how. That series of prompts addressing, again, persona poetry works best if your who, your character and whose voice you're going to write is in a specific situation, right? So the world's got to be smaller to make the poem larger. If that makes sense. The poem Hulk in a particular situation in Greg Santos' poem, right, is why this poem works. He goes from taking a break from the Avengers to trying to be a normal Joe, excuse me, to getting a job at 7-Eleven and then an office job. Excuse me. So that's the specific situation in which Hulk found itself um, in in this poem. So you want to make sure that you've made those kinds of decisions: the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. And then, excuse me, and then think about the emotional range. Again, a list of the character's emotions from the start of the situation to the end. Simply a list. Sensory language, and then using as few personal pronouns as possible. And then what I like to suggest that students do with this blueprint, and I call this creating a blueprint for your work. And all writers and all artists sort of prepare before creating the art. So I would ask you to have your poems be somewhere between, if you can, depending on your age range, your grade range, between 6 and 12 lines. It can be longer, but 6 to 12 lines in length. And just play with the idea of I am the Hulk, right? And so you're writing as if you are Hulk, or you are that character, you are that entity in that situation and imagine, just play with it. And it's an opportunity to dream while wearing another's skin. And that's a part of what makes Persona such a great teaching, such a great form for teaching, because we can apply writing Persona to all subject areas, right, across the full book bag, as we say in publishing. Because you can write in the voice of chlorophyll, you can write in the voice of Madame Curie. You can write a poem. You can write in the voice of a historical figure like Harriet Tubman, or a sports figure like Baker Mayfield. Right. So you can play with persona in a wide variety of scenarios, but you now have the foundation to do so. And I hope that you will employ these prompts and have fun bringing these persona poems to life. Thanks for tuning in today. And I want to thank Ahha Tulsa, of course, Tulsa Public Schools, and my good friend Dr. Deborah Gist, and Rogers State University for making this lesson possible. And let's find our own ways to keep Tulsa, Oklahoma, and really the world creative and safe and healthy during this moment. And as long as we continue to care about one another and take care of our minds and hearts, we will be just fine. Take care and have a great day.